Hi, so I guess a few of you will be thinking, now why is she on about the Dam Busters again? Well, at the moment there's a thing going on, and that thing is about Guy Gibson's dog. To put it in perspective for you, I'm going to play the bit from the news. But it's a fact that Guy Gibson's dog, whose name cannot be mentioned these days, it just can't be said. You're not allowed to speak the name of the dog, right? Who lived at RAF Scampton, who died at RAF Scampton, who meant a lot to Guy Gibson. And I'll ask the question when I've shown this clip of the news, because I'm a bit perplexed about what should really happen here. Yeah, so I'll stop sharing that. And so I'm a bit perplexed about it. And let me go looking for the one I want to show you about Guy Gibson's dog, whose name we dare not mention, no. So here we go. Where's the start button? Bloody YouTube's getting worse. I've noticed it's just getting worse. Oh, right. What's going on here then? Fuck. Ah, there it is. I think it's...
RAF Scampton has just been rejected by West Lindsey District Council at their meeting this evening. RAF Heritage submitted the request to move the grave of the black Labrador, whose name is a racial slur. The dog was owned by Wing Commander Guy Gibson, who led the famous Dam Busters raid from RAF Scampton in May 1943. The dog died on the eve of that raid. It was buried on the grounds, which is now set to be used, obviously, to accommodate illegal migrants, asylum seekers. RAF Heritage wish to remove the grave and the memorial to the dog and move it to RAF Mereham in Norfolk, where I'm reliably informed the dog never even enjoyed walkies. Our East Midlands reporter, Will Hollis, is currently at the meeting. Look, Will, thank you very much. Go on, take it away. What's just happened moments ago?
Yes, well, earlier today when I was reporting on this story, a member of the Save Our Scampton community group said that keeping Guy Gibson's dog here at Scampton is just one small part of a much bigger battle. And today here at this planning committee meeting that West Lindsey District Council described as extraordinary, that decision to remove Guy Gibson's dog has been rejected. It literally came through just a few moments ago, Patrick. Essentially what I was overhearing while I was just waiting to go live into your programme tonight was that the members of the planning committee were voting, and they were voting whether or not to reject or to accept the planning officer's recommendations, and the planning officer's recommendation was to reject that proposal by RAF Heritage to remove Guy Gibson's dog, and they voted unanimously to in favour of that proposal. So they have now voted to reject the proposals that Guy Gibson's dog can be removed. What we've been hearing in the last hour in this planning meeting that was very calm, it was very patient, was people offering their objections. There was also people stating why they think that Guy Gibson's dog should be removed. But overwhelmingly, it was that people wanted this dog to stay, and they wanted the dog to stay ultimately because it is a part of their history and their heritage. One of the big arguments, Patrick, of course, is what will happen to a £300 million deal if 2,000 asylum seekers are moved into Scampton. And if that dog isn't there, that would certainly hamper whatever that deal might be in the future. So, as we've said, it is official. Guy Gibson's dog is expected to stay here at RAF Scampton.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important as well in the context.
Now, I understand the RAF want to take the dog away simply because I think they know that if it's left there and the immigrants get put in there, there's not going to be a lot of respect for the memorial and everything else, and it will get probably torn down. So I understand that, right? I get that. I understand the RAF's position, but with my knowledge about Guy Gibson, I mean, unfortunately, Guy Gibson, the owner of the dog, whose name we cannot mention, if he'd been able to survive the war, he didn't. He was shot down in a sortie in 1944 and killed. He would have left. I nearly said the name there. The dog whose name cannot be mentioned. He would have left the dog at Skipton. Now, I feel that the dog and the dog's grave is being used by the people of is it Skipton or Scarsdale? Sorry, not Skipton. As a way to stop the immigrants coming into that old RAF base. Now, I can't blame these people because there are a lot of listed buildings in that RAF base. Okay, I've been to that RAF base and I know there's a lot of listed buildings there. Listed 2, listed 1, and for anything to change, this is what's laughable, because for any of those buildings to get changed, you have to get permission to do anything to them. You have to get permission, but it seems that the powers that be are going to be sending 2,000 illegal immigrants into this air base where the dam busters took off and landed after, successfully breaching the dams. And now, 80 years later, it's like, what? So now we're going to let the enemy into the airbase, and they will probably vandalize or not, do things to the dog's grave. So the powers that be need to give their heads a fucking wobble, because this dog, right? I don't care who you are. If you're truly patriotic, you will know about Guy Gibson's dog. So they've decided, the council have decided, the dog must not be moved. The dog has to stay there, right? So 2,000 asylum seekers come in. They vandalize, you know what they're like. They'll vandalize the grave of the dog. And what are people going to do? What are people going to do about that? This could be a turning point, actually, because I don't think people are. I know some of you will be thinking, well, it was only a dog. No, this dog, it was a mascot for that whole sortie, right? That changed the course of the war, getting rid of those dams. So I'm just very perplexed about the government sending these people to the air base in the first place. Now there's the argument over the poor dog, right? Guy Gibson and the men that flew the dam busters raid have been forgotten. The guy that invented the bouncing bomb seems to have been fucking forgotten. Everyone, it just doesn't seem to matter anymore. Our history, what belongs to us, doesn't seem to matter anymore, as long as we make way for illegals to come into this country. Not happy. I'm not happy. And I'd like to know other people's opinions. Do they think that the dog should be moved so that the memorial that goes with the dog, which you just saw, is not vandalized? Or should the dog stay where Guy Gibson would have wanted the dog to stay? Because it's not just a dog. Yeah, it's not just about a dog. And remember, the dam busters, they took off from that airfield. They landed back in that airfield. And for it just to be tossed aside, for these people to come in that wouldn't care less about any of our history. Don't care less about any of our history. I mean, they're actually getting off the boats now, screaming, "We say no to Rwanda." So imagine what they're going to do when they get to this airfield. We saw what they did to the other camps they've been in. We've seen how they've set fire to them, they've destroyed them, and yet we're meant to say, okay, so you can go in there where, during World War II, if it wasn't for these men that flew those airplanes, that went and did the dam buster raid, if it wasn't for the man who invented the bouncing bomb, well, the war could have gone a different way. But hey, that doesn't matter now. We don't need to remember that. We don't care about that. We're just going to change all the listed buildings. We're going to do all of that. And if they burn the listed buildings, well, they do. No, I'm sorry. This has to be stopped. This is part of our history, and it has to be stopped. I mean, I live close to a place where there's a Spitfire. It's just a Spitfire in the middle of a field, and you have all kinds of things going on this field every summer, right? Right, and this Spitfire it's a proper aeroplane, Spitfire. But that Spitfire is treated with such reverence by the people around here. They have fates, they have everything you can think of goes on around this Spitfire. And God help anyone who would think that they would vandalize the Spitfire. So I'm kind of heartbroken that the government have decided to do this to us as a people again. It's just becoming worse. It really is. So, and I know it's just a dog.
Well, of course, to say that another layer of controversy to this dog is its name, which we will not be repeating, but of course is a racial slur. What were some people saying at the meeting in terms of why they thought that dog should remain there then? What were the kind of thing? Was the racial context raised as well? Go on, talk to me about that a bit.
Well, to be honest, Patrick, there was only one time that I saw that the racial context of the dog's name was actually raised, and that was at the start, and that was the chair of the planning committee. And he said that we will not be using the name of Guy Gibson's dog, and anybody that does use the name of Guy Gibson's dog will have their microphone turned off and they will be asked to sit down. It wasn't said that they will be asked to leave, and it wasn't said that they will be dragged out, but there is police and there is security here. Mainly what people were talking about was what would happen if the dog was taken away to this heritage deal, £300 million on the table from Scampton Holdings to turn RAF Scampton into a world-class heritage centre. Another thing that was brought up was, why would you move a dog that had no connection to RAF Marham in Norfolk 80 miles away to that base if only in 20 years 617 Squadron would move from that base, or RAF Marham would close down? There's been a number of times that RAF 67, which is of course the Dambuster Squadron, has been disbanded and then it's been brought back. So there have been a number of things that have been raised, but the big question was, why would you move a dog somewhere that it has no connection when you have a big deal on the table that could bring jobs and money to this community?
Well, the reason they want to move the dog is because, look, it's the RAF, right? So the RAF will have been told by the government, right, you got to move the dog because we can't be having the dog getting the dog's grave. Sorry, we can't be having that being vandalised. People won't put up with that, right? So get rid of the dog, and then we can put the illegal immigrants in. But unfortunately for them, the council of that area has decided, no, you can leave the dog there. We don't want the illegal immigrants. We want the deal that'll make RAF Scampton into a historical heritage place. And I don't blame the people for that. What I'm angry about is that it's even being discussed. Because if that hero, Guy Gibson, had lived, he would not have moved his dog, right? And it's those people we have to keep remembering. Okay, some of you don't want to remember it. Some of you don't care. Well, I do care. And that dog should stay where it is. The people of that area should have their £300 million grant given, so it's made into a heritage historical place with their grade listed buildings in there. The whole story of the Dambusters should become a thing of that area for more people, for generations that have grown up that might not know about the Dambusters. It should not become an asylum seeker's home. Okay? This is our country. That's our airfield, right? And if people don't pick up on this story and keep an eye out, because I intend to, an eye out, I don't trust the government. I don't trust the RAF. For some reason, they want rid of, nearly said his name, They want rid of the dog, right? Because the dog represents us. It represents Guy. It represents everybody, right? What are your thoughts? What do you think? What do you think about Guy's dog and the how cunning the government and the RAF are? Yeah. Right, we just disappear the whole memorial thing about the dog. Then it's free to let the asylum seekers in. So what happens? There's so many questions. So what happens if the dog stays? Well, the dog is staying apparently. So the dog stays. So they let the asylum seekers in. I want to know how long they're going to be there. Or if the asylum seekers come, does that mean that the people of that area will then lose their 300 million pound grant that's supposed to be going to be given to make that into a heritage place? Is this what's going on now? Because I don't agree with it. The dog stays. RAF Scampton, they get the money to make it into a heritage place because you're not supposed to be doing anything to any of those buildings. They're all listed buildings. They're all historical. They're all very important. All very important. Yeah. The only people they're not important to, as far as I'm concerned, are the illegal immigrants that will be coming in to set fire to said buildings. I'm really interested in your thoughts on this. As you know, I'm very passionate about things like this, so I'm really interested. If you've got any thoughts or anything about it, please write underneath this video and tell me. And while I'm on here, I may as well also talk about the Jupiter and what she's been up to lately. Jupiter's going through the menopause, right? So you've got to give way for that. And because when you're going through the menopause, you don't know what you're saying, what you're thinking, and what you're doing half the time, right? As a woman, it takes away a lot of your logical thoughts and makes you very illogical, right? But I'm not defending it in any way, because what I heard the other night was disgusting. And I just quickly want to point out a few things. So, guy, I didn't know Luke at all. I knew nothing about him, because if you want to remember back when I used to do my live streams, I was really bad. I used to not ignore the chat, but I never used to read the chat, and I was quite bad for that. And but she did, and apparently Luke was in the chat a lot, and I thought that's all she knew about Luke, right? Then a bit further on, I think I'm doing a stream, or she's doing a stream about heritage and family trees, right? No, I'm doing a stream, I think, or she's doing the stream, I can't remember. And the heritage and family trees get brought up as a conversation. And Luke says, yeah, that's why I'm doing Jupiter's family tree. And I'm like, what? And I thought, so for you to be doing Jupiter's family tree, you've been in direct contact with Jupiter, and she's give Luke information for him to go looking for her family tree, right? It's just logical, isn't it? And I thought, well, that's strange, because she never told me. So I left it, and then when she rang, I said to her, oh, I didn't know you knew Luke that well, that you're willing to tell him things about your family and your family tree and everything. And she said, but I'm not telling them the truth. And I thought, well, how do you expect them to find your fucking family tree if you're lying about different members of your family, no matter how far back? And I went, oh, right. I said, well, why are you bothering? Well, because he could do my family tree. And the fact that she even said that, I got off the subject, right? Because I thought, well, he can't, because you just said you're not telling them the truth. And she also said, she goes, don't worry, I've got his number. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll just fucking leave it at that then. It's nothing to do with me. I don't care. It's just... And then when she was having one of her little spurts the other day, I hear her screaming. What was it she was screaming? Just because he used to go around following Based Amy and carrying her handbag or something to those words. I thought, so you knew Luke used to go on these marches and be around Amy, but I didn't. That would be why you were friendly with Luke, because of who Luke knew. So you saw that as a way in. This is how she works, you see. And when Luke became of no more use, Luke was kicked to the side. Do you understand? When Luke became of no more use to Jupiter, she turned. And the way she turned was exactly how she turned on me. She would say something while you were on a panel that would really fucking annoy you. And you'd think, right, I'm not having that. I'm just not having it. And when that happened with Luke, I can remember it. And when it happened, I thought, Luke is not going to take that. So it happened with Luke, right? It happened with Dave. Dave of all people, you know, dopey Dave. And who else has it happened to? Oh, and now there's Taffy. Of course, it's happened to Taffy. It happened with me. It happened with Nine Ether. It happened with Lady Divine. It happened with, oh God, the list is endless. And it's all because this woman has no respect for any of you. I don't know how many times I've got to say it, because as time goes on, I'm being proven right. Time after time after time. She needs to be ignored. You need to stop going watching her silly streams. I was watching one yesterday and it kept going off blank. The sound kept disappearing. I was that pissed off with listening to it because she was talking about Luke, I think, or Taffy again. I actually texted her and said, your sound keeps going off. I sort of say, wake up, woman. But that'll be the menopause kicking it. She won't realise the sound's gone off because she's a fucking menopause. It makes you like that. Anyway. So this is how you stop Jupiter in her tracks. All right, I'm going to do what she does. Number one, you ignore her. Number two, you mock and make fun of her husband. Okay. Number three, all right, you mock and make fun of her friends. That is how we get rid of Jupiter, because Jupiter's mouth and her husband's mouth is vile. Absolutely vile. And I don't want no part to do with that woman. I don't mind listening. I don't mind seeing what vile stuff she's got to say. But we need to get rid of her. And we need to get rid of Moon. Because these people no longer discuss anything. They're no longer, they're just there to keep calling people pedophiles. And I should have seen what she was up to with Luke at the very beginning, but I didn't, because I didn't know anything about Luke. And as for her constantly bringing up Russell, right, she needs to shut her fucking mouth, because I've been very quiet on what I know about Jupiter front. And the thing that's going to make me come out with more Jupiter, if you're listening, is if you keep talking about Russell. Because I know you didn't like Russell. I know you couldn't stand Russ, right? I know you thought he was below you, and you couldn't understand why I kept going over there. Could you, Jupiter? You would tell me, they're below you. Why you keep going over there? And I say they're funny. They're a laugh. They're a giggle. Yeah, but they don't talk about politics. I don't care, I used to say. Oh, no, I'm not going on there. I can't stand that Sean. I can't stand Sean. Sean's a paedophile. I can't stand Dan. Dan's a paedophile. I can't. And I said, well, yeah, but Russ has got rid of all them. Yeah, but they might come on. And I'm sorry, I just can't sit there why that fat Dan's there and why Sean's there. I can't sit on a panel with Sean and with Dan. That's exactly what she said to me. And Russ is below her. I goes, well, I find them funny. I like Russ, blah, blah, blah. So if you want to keep on, Jupiter, about Russ, when you know the guy's dead and can't defend himself, and you do that, but expect some stuff coming from me, because it will. I'm not allowing you to do that. And as for Seven, we all know Seven likes a drink. I mean, you'd have to be living in a cave in this corner of YouTube not to know that Seven doesn't like a drink. He does like a drink. And when he gets the drink down him, he does get gobby. We all know this. I remember once I was undercover, right, trying to catch Sean out. And if Seven's listening to this, he's going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Trying to catch Sean out because he kept asking different women for money, right? And I said, we all agreed that I'd be talking to Sean, and but I'd take my time so it didn't become obvious that I was trying to catch him out, right? And so I'm on Reels, and I'm trying to catch Sean out, and I'm taking my time. And Seven comes on, but it's not a sober Seven. It's a drunk Seven. And he goes, what are you fucking doing? You know, you're never going to find anything out of this. I was so fucking angry because he let loose the fact of what I was doing. So we went into a hangout and I hung about for ages waiting for Seven to come back. And then it was Russ who said, Seven, no, we agreed we take it slowly to catch Sean out because he's taking money from vulnerable women. We take it slowly. But that Seven wouldn't have done that if he'd had a drink. He forgot himself because he'd had a drink. You know, we all know what he's like. So leave Seven alone as well. He doesn't bother you. He didn't care about you. He's not, to be quite honest. He's not interested in you whatsoever, Jupiter. You need to fuck off and leave him alone. He couldn't care less. None of them could, to be honest. I have to say that when I used to go in the hangouts with them, not one of them gave a shit about you. Not one of them spoke about you. You weren't a topic to be discussed. So what are you talking about, woman? But if you want more of the same, keep bringing Russ up. Yeah. But what are you going to do, Jupiter? I mean, you haven't got many places to go now, have you? You've made enemies of everyone. Funny that, isn't it? And here's little old me just sitting there minding my own business. You know, I was watching Love Island tonight. Yeah, I watch Love Island, everyone. Watching Love Island, and I thought, oh, what's going on then? I see the Guy Gibson thing. That gets my blood boiling. I think, I don't think so. I've got to make a video. So, yeah, that's it about her. So, if you have a view on Guy Gibson's dog, please write underneath the video and be respectful, please, and don't put the name of the dog because you know what YouTube is like. But yeah. I'm glad I live in my little corner of England, I can tell you that. But it doesn't mean I forget about the rest of Great Britain, because I don't. Pissed off is what I am at the moment. So, yeah, hopefully I'll be back to live soon. But at the moment, there's not a lot of point in me doing lives because every 2 minutes I'd be getting interrupted by phone calls or something or other, because I've got a family, you see. I've got a family that constantly ring me. And if it's not family, it's something to do with work. But I do have a family that constantly ring me or come around to visit me or, you know, many, many things. So unlike other women who are able to sit online 18 hours a day uninterrupted. I can't do that. Not at the moment. There's too much going on in my personal life. But hopefully it will all calm down and I'll be left alone. I'll be left alone to live my life, and they can go live their lives. Yeah, and they don't. Well, anyway, I'm not saying anymore. But yeah. So I will be back doing lives. Don't worry about that. It's just when, where, and you know, VW Day, Victory for Wendy Day. That's the day I'll come back.